The rain hammered against the glass doors of Save Mart. As Claire Thompson stood frozen in the produce section, staring at the withered apple in her hand, her daughter's words from that morning echoed in her mind. "Mommy, my tummy hurts again." Lily was only 6 years old, and she had already learned not to complain about being hungry. That's what broke Claire's heart the most. Not the empty refrigerator at home, not the overdue bills stacked on the kitchen counter, not even the fact that she'd lost 15 pounds in 2 months, because she always gave Lily the bigger portion of whatever little food they had. It was the silence, the way her bright, chatty little girl had become quiet, her eyes too understanding for someone so young. Claire had $12.43 in her wallet. She'd counted it 5 times before leaving their apartment, her fingers trembling as she smoothed out the worn bills. $12.43, to last until her paycheck came through in 4 days. 4 days might as well have been 4 years. When your child was looking up at you with hollowed cheeks and asking when dinner would be ready, she moved through the store like a ghost, doing mental math with every item she touched. A loaf of bread, $2.89. Peanut butter, £3.49. A gallon of milk, $4.19. She could get some pasta, maybe some canned sauce. Eggs were on sale. She carefully placed each item in her basket, her calculator app open on her cracked phone screen, adding and subtracting, putting things back, picking them up again. Other shoppers breezed past her with overflowing carts, grabbing items without looking at prices, and Claire felt a familiar ache of shame mixed with longing. At the deli counter she paused. Lily loved turkey sandwiches. Before everything fell apart, before the divorce, before Claire's hours at the call center got cut, before her car broke down and ate up her savings, she used to make Lily turkey sandwiches, cut into triangles with the crusts removed. Lily would giggle and pretend each triangle was a tiny boat sailing across her plate. Claire picked up the smallest package of sliced turkey, checked the price and felt her eyes sting with tears. $6.99 too much. She put it back. Just 4 more days, she whispered to herself. We can make it 4 more days. By the time she reached the checkout line, Claire had $11.87 worth of groceries in her basket. She'd left room for error, for taxes, for anything she might have miscalculated. The checker was a young guy with headphones around his neck, and he smiled at her as he scanned her items. Claire tried to smile back, but her face felt stiff, like she'd forgotten how. $12.61, he announced, and Claire's stomach dropped. Wait, could you check that again? Her voice came out smaller than she intended. I calculated $11.87. The checker shrugged and pointed at the screen. Taxes, probably. It's $12.61. Claire's hands shook as she opened her wallet. $12.43. She was 18 cents short. 18 cents stood between her daughter eating dinner tonight and going to bed with that same hurt, hungry look in her eyes. I'm so sorry, Claire said, her throat tightening. I need to put something back. Maybe the eggs? Are you serious right now? The voice came from behind the checkout stand, sharp and condescending. Claire looked up to see a woman in a Save Mart management vest striding toward her. The name tag read Sandra Fletcher, store manager. She was maybe 50, with perfectly highlighted hair and manicured nails, and her face wore an expression of theatrical disgust. You're holding up my line over 18 cents? I'm sorry, I just need to... You need to learn how to budget before you come shopping, Sandra cut her off, her voice rising so that people in neighboring lanes turned to stare. This is ridiculous. We have paying customers waiting. Claire felt her face burning. Behind her she could sense the line growing, could feel the weight of impatient eyes on her back. I'm putting something back right now, she said, reaching for the eggs with trembling hands. Oh no, don't do that, Sandra said, her tone dripping with mock sympathy. That would require you to walk all the way back to the dairy section, and heaven knows we can't have you wasting any more of everyone's time. She turned to address the people in line behind Claire. I apologize for this, folks. Some people just don't understand that the rest of the world doesn't revolve around them. Please, Claire whispered, tears now streaming down her face. I have a daughter at home. She hasn't eaten since... Oh, here we go with the sob story. Sandra interrupted, rolling her eyes dramatically. Let me guess. Single mom? Hard times? Down on your luck? You know what? Maybe if people made better choices in life, they wouldn't be standing in my store crying over pocket change. Did you ever think about that? The words hit Claire like slaps. She stood there clutching her worn purse, feeling smaller and more worthless with each passing second. Through her tears, she didn't notice the man standing 2 registers over, partially hidden by a display of magazines. She didn't see how his expression had changed from curiosity to barely controlled anger as he listened to Sandra's tirade. James Caldwell had been the CEO of SaveMart's parent corporation for 12 years. He'd built the company from 15 stores to over 300, and he'd done it by maintaining one simple principle: treat people with dignity. His mother had raised him alone after his father died, working 3 jobs to keep food on the table. He remembered the kindness of strangers who had helped them. The neighbor who accidentally made too much dinner and brought over the leftovers. The teacher who kept extra school supplies in her desk. The grocery store owner who let his mother pay what she could when she could. He'd been doing an anonymous store visit, something he tried to do quarterly, wanting to see his stores through customers' eyes, rather than through polished presentations in boardrooms. He'd been pleased with what he'd seen: clean aisles, helpful staff, good energy. Until now. Sandra was still going. You know what I think? I think people like you... That's enough. James's voice cut through Sandra's rant like a blade. He'd moved to stand beside Claire, and now he placed his credit card on the counter. I'll be covering her groceries. Ring it up. Sandra's face went through several rapid transformations. Annoyance, confusion, and then sudden, blood-draining recognition. Mr. Caldwell, she stammered. I didn't know you were... Obviously, James said coldly. He turned to Claire, his expression softening. Ma'am, I apologize on behalf of this company for what you've just experienced. No one should ever be treated that way, especially not in one of our stores. Claire stared at him through her tears, unable to process what was happening. I don't understand. Who? My name is James Caldwell. I own this company, and I promise you, what just happened here is the opposite of everything we stand for. He looked at the young checker, who was wide-eyed and frozen. Add 20 pounds of that deli turkey to her order, and a rotisserie chicken, and whatever fresh fruit she wants. Actually, let's start over. Ma'am, would you allow me to help you get proper groceries for you and your daughter? I can't. That's too much. I couldn't possibly... Claire's voice broke completely. Please, James said gently. I insist. My mother raised me alone. I know what it's like. I know what she went through. Let me do this. 15 minutes later, Claire stood by her cart, now filled with fresh produce, meat, dairy, bread, pasta, rice, canned goods, and yes, enough turkey to make 100. Triangle sandwiches, watching as James personally scanned each item. The total came to $287.43. He paid without hesitation, then added 5 $50 bills to one of the grocery bags. That's too much, Claire protested weakly, overwhelmed. I can't take your money. It's not my money, James said quietly. It's a recognition that the system failed you, and a small attempt to make that right. Please, for your daughter. By now a small crowd had gathered. Several people were filming on their phones. Sandra stood off to the side, her face ashen, looking like she might be sick. James turned to her once. Claire's groceries were loaded into her car, which James had also arranged to be filled with gas by having a store employee follow them to the nearest station. Back inside the store, James's expression turned to granite. Miss Fletcher, you're terminated effective immediately. Turn in your vest and ID. Security will escort you out. Mr. Caldwell, please, I have a mortgage. I've been with this company for 8 years. And in those 8 years, how many people have you treated the way you treated that woman today? James asked. How many struggling families have you humiliated? How many people have left this store feeling worthless because you decided their poverty was an inconvenience to you? Sandra had no answer. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, James continued. I'm going to make your termination a teaching moment for every manager in this company. You're going to be the example of exactly what we don't tolerate. And maybe while you're looking for a new job, you'll remember how it feels to be on the other side of that judgment. The video of the incident went viral within hours. Save Mart CEO trended nationwide, with millions of views and comments praising James's response. But for James, the real moment came 3 days later, when he received a handwritten letter at his office. The envelope was worn, and the paper inside was from a child's notebook, the edges still perforated. Claire's handwriting was shaky but heartfelt. "Dear Mr. Caldwell, I don't have the words to truly thank you for what you did. Lily and I have been eating real meals." She laughed for the first time in weeks when I made her turkey sandwiches. "You didn't just give us food, you gave us back our dignity. You saw me as a person when someone else saw me as a problem. I'm writing this at 2 a.m. because I can't sleep. I keep crying, but they're good tears now. Thank you for being the kind of man your mother raised you to be. You honored her by honoring me. With eternal gratitude, Claire Thompson." Inside was a crayon drawing from Lily, a picture of a man with a cape labeled Mr. Food Angel, standing next to a smiling stick-figure woman and child. James framed both the letter and the drawing. They hung in his office, a reminder of why he did what he did. But he didn't stop there. He implemented a company-wide compassion fund, allowing any store to provide up to $300 in groceries to customers facing genuine hardship. He revised training programs to emphasize dignity and empathy, and he made it clear any employee caught treating customers with the cruelty Sandra had shown would face immediate termination. Claire eventually got a job interview from James's HR department after he'd quietly made a call. Within a year, she was working in Save Mart's corporate office, managing community outreach programs. She made sure that every program remembered that people facing hardship weren't statistics or burdens, they were humans deserving of compassion. And every time Lily asked for turkey sandwiches, Claire cut them into triangles and watched her daughter giggle about boats. And she remembered the day that everything changed. The day she learned that sometimes, when the world seems determined to crush you, there's someone watching who refuses to let that happen. Someone who remembers where they came from and chooses kindness over cruelty, compassion over convenience, and humanity over profit. Because that's what heroes do. They see people others have decided are invisible. They stand up when others walk away. And they prove that 18 cents, or any amount, is never too small to matter when human. Dignity hangs in the balance.